He is the strongest S-rank Squire, but hides it. A tank named Rudd boasts an unparalleled defense level. Alongside his team of adventurers, he ventures into the labyrinths wherever he goes, governed by a formation typically divided among attack, defense, and healing members. In a tank's case, his mission is to block enemy attacks and prevent his allies from taking damage. Despite the importance of this role, tanks are often seen by many as those responsible for the dirty work within a group. They are never recognized and never bask in the limelight after a battle, yet they are the link that ensures the safety of the members who generate damage to the opponent. However, Rudd's story is about a tank who surpassed all expectations and turned things around, becoming the protagonist of his own story by showing the world that a defense specialist can be more relevant than anyone else in an adventurer's team. And so we get a glimpse of the first steps of the Squire in his personal life, and initially, we see that he has a very deep relationship with his sister, Manisha. Unfortunately, in a moment of affection, he is awakened by Nin, a teammate who shows that the young man was only fantasizing a reunion with his loved one. Nin is concerned about her friend's obsession, who seems to care too much only about his little sister. To try to alleviate her partner's pain, she suggests that he focus his mind on other matters for a change, like a romance, for example. And of course, Nin can't help but imply that she herself could be a candidate, as her face turns red instantly and Rude dodges the topic upon noticing this. In any case, the tank can't concentrate on anything else as Manisha has an incurable disease, and Rudd's only hope to reverse this is by capturing the labyrinth's secret treasure. Legend has it that this magical treasure grants any wish to its conqueror. However, Rudd doesn't seem confident that he can achieve this feat, questioning his ability to overcome such a massive challenge. On the other hand, Nin supports her friend, commenting on his importance on the front lines. Despite this, she expresses concern about the decrease in defense he has suffered in recent expeditions. Rudd agrees, as he himself doesn't understand the reason for this sudden loss of status, and this weakness ends up causing him to consume many support items or overburden Nin with his healing. For this reason, Rudd feels responsible and apologizes to his companion, but once again she lifts the Squire's head, emphasizing how functional the team is, largely because of him. After all, Rudd has a shield with a defense value of 9,999, a status never seen before. In other words, the guy is an exceptional defender, and Nin thinks that even if a new member joins the group, he has to keep his head high. When Nin mentions a new member, a hero praised by all enters the room, having conquered many labyrinths at a very young age. This warrior is called Keglis, the leader of the group to which Rudd belongs. The boss gathers the entire team and announces that 2 more fighters will join the team. Nin doesn't like the idea and confronts Keglis, as according to the labyrinth rules, the maximum number allowed per formation is 6 people. With these 2 additions, they have a total of 7. But Keglis knows exactly what he's doing and expels Rudd in front of everyone, calling the former partner a useless tank. In the last battle, he lost a significant portion of his defense status instantly, compromising the mission's outcome. Once again, Nin stands by her friend, praising his quality and suggesting that even though he faltered at a certain moment, treating him with respect and discovering the cause of this sudden defense loss would be more just. However, the squadron leader sticks to his decision, arguing that Rudd's unknown abilities are the cause of this weakness, and this negligence almost led everyone to death. Therefore, expelling the tank is more than fair. Furthermore, the new members Keglis brought are evasion tanks, the most hyped class at the moment, as they defend themselves using the elegance of evasion, unlike a brute who only knows how to raise a shield. Witnessing the insults, Rudd tries to leave the room, but Keglis hasn't said everything he wanted yet. After all, the team didn't profit yesterday because of him, and it would be fair for Rudd to hand over some belongings to compensate for this incompetence, so Keglis takes away a sword from the warrior. Humiliated, Rudd is comforted by Lilia and Layli, who recognize the ex-companion's worth and wish him good luck. Nin is inconsolable and fears she will never see Rudd again, so he invites her to visit him someday in the city where he will return to live with his sister, called Avancia. Nin's ego is hurt, and she tries to convince her companion that she won't necessarily miss him that much, but Rudd understands well that the girl didn't say it with ill intentions, as she is only hurt by his departure. Finally, after the farewell, Rudd reflects on Keglis' harsh words and wonders if he is truly right when he says that the tank is useless, and his pathetic abilities reduce the shield's absorption. With all these doubts weighing on his mind, all he wanted was an appraisal ability to identify the effect of these techniques. And at that moment, he hears a group of Rank D discussing an escort job to the city of Kuras. As Avancia is close to this destination, Rudd sees in this expedition a good opportunity to return to his sister, so he approaches and asks for permission to join the undertaking. The young adventurers are impressed by the size of the warrior and ask about the tank's ranking. However, Rudd is still in rank F, the lowest of all, because he spent his entire life stuck in mazes instead of seeking rank promotions. But as he hesitated to tell this story before he could utter a word, the young ones recognized the Squire, noticing that he is one of the members of the great hero Kygla's group. Rudd was going to explain that he was kicked out of the gang, but before that, the escort's contractor approaches and hurries the fighters. In the blink of an eye, Rudd is already in a wagon heading to Cuirass. He feels guilty for having the sensation of deceiving everyone by not revealing his rank, but there's no turning back now, so it's onward and upward, providing excellent service to avoid embarrassment. Soon the escort begins its adventure, and the tank joins the new companions in the days that pass, facing the challenges of the long journey. Until near the arrival in Cuirass, a thick fog envelops the entire area, prompting the contractor to deem it better to take a break and wait for the fog to lift. However, Rudd has a bad feeling about this, so he recommends they continue the journey and brave the bad weather to reach the approaching city. Soon, the uneasy atmosphere affects the convoy's spirits, and Rudd takes the lead when his shadow approaches the wagon. The odd appearance of the silhouette makes the Squire think it's a potential assailant, but as soon as the fog clears, a young girl, dirty and abandoned, is revealed. He approaches to lend a hand to the girl, but as she tries to get up, a magical stone becomes visible on her chest. And in that very instant, the situation worsens when a venomous forest snake threatens the adventurers. Given the size of the monster, the group is certain that this is the end for them, but Rudd positions his shield and uses his taunt ability, forcing the snake to focus solely on him as a target. With this, the creature spews acid on the tank, who mitigates further damage with his shield, but some of the liquid splashes on the protagonist. The youngsters worry about their companion, but he assures them that he has abilities that protect him from negative statuses. So he maintains the team's safety and asks them to attack in the meantime, but fear has already taken hold of the rest of the group, and this hesitation gives the snake the opportunity to advance and knock everyone down with tremendous force. With the impact of the blow, Rudd experiences a brief flashback of a memory where his sister pleads for his help. With this image of suffering in his mind, the warrior realizes that the person he loves the most won't be able to count on her brother if he's dead, so he rises again and motivates the companions to react. As each without a sword, he takes on the frontline protection and emphasizes that teamwork will bring victory as long as they muster the courage to attack while he holds the beast. The tank protects the others until they engage the enemy, striking the giant creature one by one. In response, the snake prepares for a deadly attack, contorting its body into a kind of giant wheel and running at high speed towards the protagonist. However, despite fearing the worst, he maintains his guard and restrains the snake's momentum, leaving it vulnerable to further attacks from the rest of the group. With this, the forest snake is finally defeated, and the young adventurers are fascinated by the talent of the tank they found, praising that all of this was possible because of him. However, Rudd demonstrates humility and leadership by attributing the victory to teamwork, emphasizing that each member played their part masterfully. After all this, he could leave the mysterious child behind with those sparkling diamond eyes. Thus, he approaches and offers protection to the girl until the city of Avancia. She further displays her innocence and vulnerability when she accepts the tutelage of a stranger. But the man sets another example of his kindness by offering a new outfit to the poor girl, given by the contractor as a thank you for saving his life. And as she goes to change, the old man asks if the child is a fugitive, but Rudd asserts that she is one of the homunculi, slaves of humans who can never travel alone. As she is lost and abandoned, there is certainly a good reason behind it. Surely slave traders wouldn't dare enter such a forest in search of a possession, although she wasn't wearing a chain, leaving the case open. In any case, Rudd promised to take care of her for now, and so he did until the two disembark at their final stop with the convoy. In parting, the inexperienced group invites the tank to be a permanent member of the team, but he politely declines, claiming to be in search of the secret treasure. Impressed, the boys mention that this treasure had the technology to create homunculi. However, they whisper among themselves that they don't like homunculi because they're a bit creepy, working endlessly without showing any expression or feeling. At that moment, Rudd knew that these insults would greatly affect his companion if it continued, so he draws the attention of the young adventurers and finds a way to leave there quickly. Finally, everyone says their definitive goodbyes, and on the way to the city, Rudd introduces himself to his new friend and asks her to return the gesture. However, she reveals that she has never been called in any way. Thus, Rudd grants the girl an affection she has never had in her life and presents his companion with a name. In that moment, she found herself amidst a rain of Lunafia petals, and the Squire decides to call the young girl Luna from that moment on. Later, as night falls, Luna and Rudd have a meal while preparing to sleep early as they intend to reach Avancia early in the morning. However, wild wolves disrupt the group's peace and attack the child. Contrary to expectations, she reacts with a knife, skillfully eliminating all three animals. Witnessing this scene, Rudd is certain that Luna is an illegally created homunculus, a distinct class with emotions others lack, along with an unmatched ability to fight. Normally, illegal homunculi are feared and discarded, but the fear in that child's eyes reminds Rudd of his sister, so he quickly forms an immediate affection for the girl. Thus, he decides to ask Luna if she could face the giant snake, but she responds that she lacks physical abilities and can only handle problems through magic. This makes Rudd think that she can mimic the effects of abilities. Later, she adds that she has a technique that enhances magic, along with another for support. In other words, she possesses the art of appraisal, the rarest ability of all. Only one person in the neighboring kingdom had this capability, but she passed away a few years ago. Therefore, Luna is the only person in the world with this talent. Eagerly, Rudd asks the girl to assess his abilities, and she promptly grants the favor by analyzing that the Squire has 4 powers. The first is provocation, forcing the target to focus attention on oneself. The second is healthy body, making the user immune to status effects and increasing natural healing, rendering the body extremely resilient. Rudd already knew these techniques, so he was eagerly awaiting the explanation of the last 2. Soon Luna reveals that the third ability is called life conversion, allowing the conversion of lost defense into energy. This makes the tank realize that some abilities can only be activated after being understood. And finally, sacrifice shield. This ability allows you to endure the damage your allies receive instead of them. By doing this, your resistance increases along with theirs. Upon hearing this description, Rudd connects the dots and realizes that he was expelled for losing a lot of HP without any reason, but in reality, he was absorbing the damage from his entire group all this time by activating this ability unknowingly. In the end, Rudd gives a sincere smile and thanks his new friend because she surely lifted a tremendous burden off the loyal Squire's shoulders as he was cast out for something that only benefited everyone he swore to protect. So with his head held high, he arrives in the vicinity of Avantia, where his sister awaits him. After a long journey, they arrive in the town and Luna admires the tranquility of the place. Although Rudd thinks it's a good place to live, but with few possibilities. Anyway, he hopes the girl will do well in her new life. And even before the duo can breathe the air of Avantia, a friend named Milena hugs the big guy warmly and asks how long he will stay this time. Shortly after, a knight expresses surprise at the arrival of the Squire and pulls Milena back a bit to give the guy more space to breathe. Milena explains that she was there to buy a hammer, while Phil was on patrol and took the opportunity to check on Rudd's youngest, Manisha. Rudd is pleased with his protective spirit, feeling at ease knowing the whole city keeps an eye on his sister while he's away. Then they finally ask who the young girl behind them is, and the Squire explains that she is Luna and he will take care of her until he finds a definitive place for her to stay. Milena is very friendly and introduces herself as the spokesperson for the town's blacksmith, while Phil is not as articulate and becomes shy when mentioning she's the sub-leader of surveillance. Everyone teases the girl's introversion, and this elicits a sincere smile from Luna, indicating that she is starting to feel more at ease. Later, they arrive home and Rudd asks the girl to speak quietly, as his sister may be sleeping. However, soon the guy smells the aroma of several tomato dishes that he loves so much. Behind this, the author of the recipes comes into the kitchen, welcoming her older brother with the usual affection. Rudd is extremely happy to reunite with his sister and introduces Luna, saying that she will spend some time with them. Manisha embarrasses the little one with her kindness, and then invites her to eat together, while the big brother drools over his sister's beauty and politeness. Manisha intends to prepare another portion, but as she is unwell, Rudd offers to help. During the preparation, Luna asks why Rudd's sister's hair keeps waving on her head, and the young man explains that some people have very peculiar physical characteristics. In Manisha's case, it's her hair. It moves according to her emotions. After that, the boy asks how his sister knew he was about to arrive, and she replies that it was a premonition. Once again, Rudd is amazed by the girl's kindness in preparing one of his favorite dishes upon arrival, but Manisha calms her brother's excitement by asking if he's an idiot. All this affectionate exchange makes Luna comment that the two are really close. Finally, lunch begins and Luna is trying to hold the spoon, but as she has used this utensil few times, she ends up dropping it on the floor. This triggers a memory for her, where she is eating with several other children. With all this going through her head, the girl feels unwell and apologizes, promising not to repeat the same mistake, but the siblings hurry to comfort her, showing that it was nothing serious and teaching her how to hold the spoon correctly. At that moment, she holds Luna's hand to give her more confidence, and with this gesture of affection, Manisha says that she will teach one thing at a time, so Luna needs to learn without haste. Over time, the three spent their days together, strengthening their bonds until Luna finally felt she had a home. One day, she even cooked a feast for the two friends to prove that she had learned everything Manisha taught her in the kitchen. During a meal, Rudd noticed that the food tasted like his sister's seasoning, making him imagine that this is the result of the homunculus learning abilities. After lunch, the siblings decide to take their friend to explore the city and meet the people. When Manisha went to get clothes she offered to Luna, the brother is enchanted again by the older sister's attitude. Manisha offers to help Luna change clothes, but this embarrasses the little one and she grabs the clothes hastily and runs up the stairs. At that moment, Rudd knew that the homunculus was afraid that someone would see her magic stone. With everyone ready, the tour of Avancia begins, and Rudd explains that the city doesn't have an adventurer's guild or a church, only a blacksmith and an apothecary with an excellent orchard. As for the blacksmith, there's Melina's father asking if Rudd would like to have a son with his daughter. Once again, he declines the proposal, and after introducing the man to Luna, Rudd discusses an important matter with the blacksmith, asking him to produce a new magical sword for him, as the old one was stolen by the cheeky Kagles. Razel agrees to the job and informs that his daughter will participate in the process, as she is skilled enough for it. In the next stop of the tour, Luna gets to know the monster plantation, where vegetables turn into creatures. As they grow from mana, they can be cultivated in any season. Moreover, they are very nutritious. In the middle of this explanation, two kids comment that Rudd is dating the girl who is accompanying him. But when corrected by Rudd himself, they respond that he will never have a girlfriend since he is obsessed with his sister. The Squire gets nervous and asks who taught the kids to say that, and they tell him it was Phil. Grandma Gigi scolds the kids, telling them to go back to work, and this situation triggers another memory for Luna, where she was enslaved with other children. In a state of shock, Luna took a while to realize that Rudd was trying to introduce her to Grandma Gigi, the apothecary, who makes medicine for Manisha. The lady smiles at the little one and comments that she reminds her of Manisha at that age. Afterward, she laments that the medicine she produced didn't work as well on Manisha as everyone would like. Despite this, Rudd lifts the old lady's spirits, saying that his sister is feeling much better because of the apothecary. This cheers up Grandma Gigi, who says she can always help with whatever they need, and adds that both Rudd and Luna are like children to her. Finally, she invites the child to pick some spinach. And the acquaintances keep coming, and soon some knights friends of Rudd appear, saying that the Squire finally forgot about his sister and brought another woman home. Everyone participates in the harvest, and once again Luna feels welcomed by all the residents. Later, Rudd apologizes for the comments people made about them dating, as in a small town there isn't usually much to gossip about. In Luna's case, being very beautiful, everyone seems to want to take care of her more than usual. This statement didn't sit well with Luna, so Rudd steers the conversation away and invites the girl to taste what they harvested, since it's still fresh. Having said that, she tries the vegetable and loves the taste. Looking around, the late afternoon brings more joy to the girl, and Rudd comments that Avancia is a simple and peaceful place, but he really likes it. Afterward, he asks Luna how she feels about living there, and she responds that she loves everyone and what she's been experiencing lately, so she would love to live there forever. Seizing the moment of openness, Luna decides to confess that she is a battle homunculus developed in the neighboring nation Brunkles, and she cries while asking for forgiveness for not telling the truth earlier, fearing that Rudd would kill her if he found out. Rudd, however, reveals that he knew all along because he accidentally saw the magic stone. Upon learning this, Luna asks why he helped her despite knowing her condition. Rudd shares that he and his sister lived on the streets before coming to Avancia, and Manisha had eyes similar to Luna's at that time. Despite their indigent life, they never forgot the feeling of being human. Rudd asks Luna what she wants to live as a homunculus or as a human. Even though Luna insists it's impossible for her to be human, Rudd is certain she can be whatever she wants and shares how they are alike in pursuing shadows. He ventures into mazes hoping to find a lost treasure to cure his sister's illness. Luna, deep down, wants to maintain the life she discovered and loves, so she enthusiastically declares that she wants to have a human life. Shortly after, she calls Rudd master, but the Squire doesn't like it. Despite the turn, Luna says she feels she should call him that, so Rudd doesn't contest, just accepts. Next, Luna feels she should tell her other great friend, Manisha. As soon as she arrives home, she confesses without hesitation, admitting she is a homunculus. Manisha shows no prejudice and innocently asks if Luna would still like to be her friend even after her confession. Luna becomes emotional with her friend's reaction and hugs her. Then she asks if Manisha knew this from the beginning, but Rudd's sister responds to her brother, stating that he always helps people in need, and he has always been like that. Later, in a mansion in Avancia that gathers many residents, Luna is helping with the cleaning, and despite Rudd feeling bad for her having to use a broom, she feels good being part of it and wants to help. Manisha makes tea for everyone, and aware of the girl's talent in the kitchen, everyone rushes to taste it. One of them even feels good being the first to try the girl's tea. Phil, also drinking with them, comments again that Rudd is really obsessed with his sister, and the tank takes the opportunity and asks the woman to stop saying that to everyone. Despite this, the youngest sister joins the conversation and agrees that her brother worries too much about her. Manisha takes the chance to reveal she is ill, But that doesn't mean Rudd has to devote his entire life to her problem. Shortly after, one of the tank's old colleagues challenges him to a one-on-one just like in the old days. So after Rudd fights with Phil, the two of them are about to face each other. Thus, the duels are about to begin, and the two fighters are excited about the chance to show some things they couldn't do in a simulation. Phil suggests a victory rule, stipulating that the fighter who loses the most defense points loses the fight, and Rudd accepts the conditions. When the duel begins, neither of them takes the first step, as they are not exactly the type to rely on massive attacks or absurd speed. Still, someone needed to advance, and Phil is the one who steps up, attacking with her two-handed sword and showing Rudd that the woman's hand is heavy, so he can't let his guard down. He knows that if he takes a hit like that, he won't be able to get up again. For this reason, he continues to defend himself until he can think of a counterattack strategy. Interestingly, Avantia's guards are usually young people who don't have much space elsewhere and end up in the city's defense corps. But in the case of these two, the story is different. Both are well known for being extremely skilled, so Rudd and Phil are clear examples of a duel that is always interesting to watch. Phil delivers another powerful blow to the Squire, and the force unbalances him. Feeling confident, she delivers another blow to knock Rudd down. But as he is aware of his new abilities, he raises his shield to drain the attacker's defense. After the sword strike, Phil quickly realizes that her body is weakened, so she falls to the ground. Even though her defense is at level 2,500, someone managed to knock her down, so the audience is truly impressed with this Squire's capability. Phil gets up and admires Rudd's trump card, and she can't help but ask what technique that was. He explains that it's the life conversion, which allows him to convert lost defense into energy. Although he can't use it all the time, in some moments it can be the ability that turns the tide. After the result, the two of them greet each other amicably, and Rudd realizes that now he can participate in offensive strategies instead of just raising his giant shield to block enemy attacks. Next, Rudd calls his colleague to fulfill his promise of facing him in battle after Phil, but the boy makes the excuse that he remembered he had another commitment. Everyone acknowledges the tank's strength, including Luna and Minicia, but the Squire's younger sister recalls moments when she wished she could be as strong as him. Back to the memory where she was on a staircase, everyone whispered about her having an incurable disease, asserting that only Rudd would survive such a situation. Minicia coughed intensely due to her illness, and people predicted that she wouldn't last much longer. In this exact moment of suffering, as everyone speculated that the girl simply wouldn't make it, her brother appeared, embracing her and showing that all was not lost. At that moment, Minicia woke up and realized it was just a dream. She saw Luna sleeping beside her. This brought relief, and she was certain that her brother would always be there to protect her from all harm. Nevertheless, she still worried about his happiness. After all, without the burden of taking care of his sick sister, Rudd might have a much more peaceful life, doing the things he wanted without the constant concern for his ailing sibling. On the following day, Rudd greets Minicia with a good morning, but the youngest seems a bit strange, avoiding the young man at all costs and insisting that she doesn't need help while setting the breakfast table. At that moment, Luna arrives, apologizing for not arriving in time to help, but Minicia doesn't really care and teases the girl about her messy hair in the morning. However, jokes aside, Luna is genuinely feeling bad for thinking she's not helping enough. She feels like she's only receiving help without giving anything in return. Rudd reassures her that it's not the case and that such thoughts are nonsense, but Luna insists that she's learning a lot from them and may not be able to repay all that knowledge. Speaking of which, the girl notices Rudd reading a newspaper and comments on how knowledgeable they both are. In the end, she wants to know who taught them everything they know. Rudd then shares a story from the time when he and Minicia lived on the streets. During that period, there was a learning system that allowed street children to regain a dignified life. Surprisingly, in those years, the nobles had a more collective mindset, and many were concerned about the future of society, to the extent of financing initiatives for the education and rehabilitation of minors living on the streets. That's how Rudd and Minicia had the opportunity to access an important institution like the Knight Academy, and it was their salvation. However, not all moments from that period were good memories for those present. For example, Minicia remembers being bullied at the academy because everyone thought her brother was wasting his life taking care of his younger sister. Rudd brings the girl back to reality, asking if she needs anything from the market since he's about to leave. Minicia says no, and the Squire leaves. With this opportunity, Minicia goes back to her school days, remembering when Rudd was extremely popular, and everyone expected him to become a great knight because he had an enviable physique and always scored the highest grades. Despite this, memories of the girls commenting on him resurfaced when they discussed how his paths closed due to Minicia's condition. Deep down, she agreed with those girls. Rudd was a prodigious boy becoming just a babysitter, and it hurt her to think that her brother would be wasting a brilliant future because of her. In the midst of Minicia's reminiscences, Luna goes upstairs to check on her friend. When she hears that Manisha is stuck in some bad memories from the past, Luna takes her hand and continues to listen attentively. Manisha then asks what Luna would do if she knew someone was wasting their life for her. The little homunculus responds that she doesn't know if someone would go to that extent for her. But if they did, maybe the happiest life that person could lead is by doing so. After all, if someone is willing to sacrifice everything for you, then all that effort must be worth it. Having said that, Luna advises Manisha to talk to her brother about it, as it might comfort her to know that you rescued an illegal homunculus, indicating that he probably doesn't think the same way as others. Despite this, Manisha reveals that she doesn't know how to deal with her brother because she feels guilty for thinking she's abusing his kindness too much. In the end, she distances herself from him and doesn't resolve this issue, leaving her head in a state of confusion. Speaking of Rudd, the Squire returns from the street with some groceries, and Luna takes the opportunity to insist that Manisha opens up to him about what she's feeling. So the two girls go downstairs, and Manisha says she has something important to ask her brother. But when the time comes to speak, she starts sweating and questioning whether Rudd might realize he's wasting his life and abandon her. Luna then holds her friend's hand again, and she feels more secure to express herself. Therefore, she gathers courage and asks why Rudd saved her when she was abandoned. Rudd responds that it's because Manisha saved him once when they were little, and the other kids called him scary because he was big and had a stern face. While all the kids were afraid and never played with Rudd for this reason, Manisha was always by his side and never acted like she cared about his size. It's because of this special affection they developed that the tank chose to always protect his little sister and feels happy and motivated to help her with everything. With this revelation, Manisha bursts into tears and confesses that she always thought the opposite, that Rudd was wasting his life doing this. Having said that, she hugs her brother tightly and apologizes for thinking that way. Rudd, in turn, thanks Luna. The girl replies that she didn't do anything to help, but Manisha adds that without her, she might have spent her whole life thinking about it and never had the courage to tell the truth to her brother. Not knowing how to handle compliments, Luna changes the subject and informs them that she's going to make lunch, while the two siblings decide to help. Until someone knocks on the door, and despite being irritated by someone interrupting this happy family moment, Rudd opens the door and sees Nin, his old friend from the previous group he was a part of. The girl managed to get some time off and decided to visit the tank. Rudd is surprised that Kaigla's allowed her time off, but Nin explains that she now works in a church, having left the hero group. After Rudd left, they couldn't handle the labyrinths the same way because their defense level dropped too much during the fight and they couldn't maintain the pace. On one occasion, they were having a lot of trouble with a monster until another one appeared on the battlefield. Kaiglas tried to solve the situation with a life explosion, but using this ability drained 1,000 points of his defense. Then he finally recognizes that in Rudd's presence, he could maintain a good defense level to stay alive in the war. However, it wasn't the time to lament, so the alternative was to fight. Arrogant as always, Kaiglas tried to prove to everyone that he made the right choice by expelling the old tank, so he unleashed a powerful blow that eliminated the first monster. Despite this, the rest of the group thinks that this floor is too high level for them, and the monsters keep respawning because they're not killing them fast enough. But the leader's pride doesn't allow him to admit the disadvantage, so he orders the group not to retreat. Thus, he tries once again to activate the life explosion ability, but this time, it doesn't work. Next, the creature gets Kaiglas with its axe and eliminates his entire defense. Thus, the knight was completely exposed to the attacks of that gigantic monster, so he tries to escape like a rat, but the monster is faster, and with the first punch Kaiglas takes, his body suffers from broken bones and seriously affected joints. Lying on the ground and completely helpless, Kaiglas begs for his life until his group rescues him and leaves the dungeon. On the next day, the team leader belittles the evasion tanks, shouting that they tarnished his reputation by not meeting expectations. The girls lower their heads and apologize, but Nin takes offense on behalf of her comrades and rebuts the leader, stating that the fault lies not with them but with Kaiglas himself. He has become increasingly unproductive, wandering through the city's bars instead of training and strengthening his muscles and techniques. Furthermore, Kaiglas relied solely on the life explosion, but now that Rudd is absent, the leader can't maintain the same form as before, leaving the rest of the group in the lurch. Since Kaiglas' ability intensity depends on defense loss, the day the strongest blow was dealt was when the tank lost all defense in the labyrinth. As the former comrade's defense was 9,999, Kaiglas' life explosion became ridiculously powerful. In other words, it was the Squire carrying the team, not the leader. Despite the stern rebuke, Kaiglas continues to grumble that he's the best of all, and no one should question that. One by one, his group mates leave him, abandoning the team. After revealing the story behind her departure, Nin apologizes for not discovering sooner that Rudd was holding the group's defense. At the same time, Rudd feels guilty for not being aware of his own abilities, blaming himself for not discovering it in time. But Nin, not one to cry over spilled milk, tries to focus on the present and forget the past. Soon, she meets the other residents of the house and after introducing herself, announces that she will spend a few days in the city checking out the orchard, so they might see each other around. However, upon hearing that Nin would be staying in Manisha for a few days, Rudd warns that there is no suitable hotel in the area for accommodation. Manisha offers the girl to stay at their house, even in her own room. Hearing this, Rudd warns that the girl is the daughter of a duke, so she might not accept just any place to stay. But the noblewoman doesn't like being treated that way and argues with Rudd for the way he spoke of her, only to accept his sister's invitation right after. In the end, it is decided that Nin will stay in Rudd's room while the tank sleeps in the living room. However, the healer insists that she wouldn't mind sleeping with the Squire. Rudd immediately asks the girl to stop playing around with such things, and she laughs, but then admits that she would in fact like it if he wants it too. Despite the high spirits, Phil knocks on the guy's door, bringing trouble, warning that a never-before-seen monster has been found in the orchard. So everyone heads to the conflict area, and the creature's trail could be seen everywhere, with fallen trees in every corner. Rudd apologizes for involving Nin in the mess, but the healer insists on reminiscing about the old times with another group fight. In the next moment, they see the monster, and no one knows exactly if it's a wolf, a bear, or whatever, as the creature's magical essence disguises its true form. For this reason, Nin dispels the creature's black miasma and reveals its identity. However, despite the effort, Rudd comments that the biological structure of this animal doesn't resemble anything he has seen before, giving the impression that the magical essence has taken over it, manipulating even its body. Despite the mystery regarding this enemy, Phil's father goes crazy and charges at the monster, only to get a swat back that throws Vuld far away. While the old man apologizes for his impatience, Rudd sees the monster attacking and uses provocation to draw the opponent towards him. Then he asks all the healers to cast healing spells on him to tank the creature's attack. With this defensive line, the other knights could attack, but the first offensive wave was easily defeated, causing Rudd to lose defense. At that moment, Luna and Nin cast spells to restore the defender's status. With this kind of support, Rudd fully assumes leadership of the troops and tells everyone not to be afraid because his ability called Sacrifice Shield allows him to withstand the defense damage for everyone. Upon hearing the description of this technique, the army faces the most powerful tank magic they have ever seen, considering that they can attack without worrying about any kind of damage. So this advantage boosts the troops' morale and everyone feels motivated for the attack. At that moment, the repeated attacks from Manisha's forces hit the creature with force, and in a short time it realizes that it won't withstand this offensive for much longer and decides to flee toward the city. Some long-range fighters tried to stop the enemy, but all attempts were unsuccessful. Until Luna summons a giant stone wall that makes the animal hit its head. This trick allowed Rudd to get closer, but as the beast felt cornered, he needed to be cautious not to kick the bucket. With that in mind, he retreats and decides to use the 20,000 damage points he suffered so far in a single attack. He jumps towards the enemy and uses the life conversion ability. The impact was so surreal that it caused a deep crater several meters long. With this, Rudd begins to wonder if he ended up causing more damage than the monster itself. Despite this, the army congratulates the tank, and Vuld praises the fact that they defeated the threat without suffering any losses. Next week, we'll have more of this anime as soon as the new episode is released, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the like button below to support this video. See you guys.